So Abi Selby, founder of spabreaks.com, joins us today to share with her lessons that she's learned starting Spa Breaks up, a spa booking agency. From what I've learned, it's from an idea to a newcomer in the market and now a leader in the field. So thanks for joining us today, Abi. How are you today?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to share your story with us. So it'd be great if we could just kick off, maybe just give us a bit of background around, yourself, what spabreaks.com does and sort of what you provide.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm Abi Selby. I founded spabreaks.com 17 years ago now. It was an idea I had while working at a chain of hotels in Newbury in Berkshire, the Donington Valley Hotel and the Vineyard at Stockcross. And while I was there working in sales and marketing, we literally put the kind of the spade in the land to build a spa. And while we were building the spa, I was managing the third parties that were there to really market those spas at the time. We're talking 20 years ago. There weren't many. So I kind of got my ideas thinking and essentially came up with the idea for spabreaks.com as we know it today. We are a spa booking agent. So essentially we have over 540 spas on the website in the UK and Ireland, and we're able to essentially send people to spas every day. So we send 16,000 people to spas every week. And we have the ability to be able to, I hope, make well-being more accessible. That was my founding mission statement, essentially, to open spa up and to make it more accessible.
Nice. So it started off, like in the intro, as an idea. So back in
2004, 2005. Yeah.
2004. Okay. So it was kind of an idea. You're working for a company. So one of the big challenges we find with a lot of budding entrepreneurs is a thing called self-sabotage. Talking to yourself of starting something. So what was the catalyst for making you actually go, right, I'm going to do this. This is going to happen?
So I think it was a chance meeting with my now business partners, actually. So while I was at Donington, I did a show round at the golf club to a couple of guys, Ross Marshall and Andrew Harding, who have gone on to be my business partners. And I essentially got chatting to them on one rainy Sunday afternoon and said, guys, look, I've got this amazing idea. I think it could really fly. They were like, well, actually, you know what? We've got 2 desks at the back of our office. Why don't you come on board and just see what you can do with it? And I think, probably I left Donington at that point and started my own PR agency for a couple of years just so that I could infiltrate and really understand the industry. And it was during this point in time that I didn't really have the ability to self-sabotage because it was so clear there was such a niche and such a need for what I was proposing. So I just thought, actually, you know what, it can't be done any differently or any worse. So I'm just going to go and give it a go. And here we are 17 years later.
Fantastic. So it starts from a conversation that gives an opportunity to then, it's amazing where one conversation can take you, isn't it?
It really is. And it's the biggest, the business has been founded on a foundation of brilliant relationships. And I truly believe that actually our success has been in the fact that if you have really good conversations and you use your network and you're generally a nice person who treats people in the way that you would want to be treated yourself, ultimately people do things for nice people. They buy things off of nice people. They work for nice people. And essentially people have been at the center of everything I do and continue to be. So it's definitely the thing that I kind of attribute to our greatest success, really.
Yeah, it's a great set of core values and that relationship building, that integrity and that honesty.
Really important, particularly when you're in this kind of industries where the world is small now, isn't it? Everybody's connected, everybody knows everybody, everyone is linked in together. So actually, the minute you start to treat people wrong, it really does backfire. So yeah, it's been a good founding principle for me, I think.
Very good. So you've seen some rapid growth then. So over the years, you've gone from that idea to, was it 1,600 clients?
So we send 16,000 people to spas every week. And last year
every week.
16,000 every week. Yeah, we turned over in excess of 30 million last year. So turnover, yeah.
So what would you say have been your biggest learnings as a business owner through that journey since you began to where you are now? What are your biggest lessons?
Probably the 2 biggest ones. Biggest one, COVID taught me is that you never ever take anything for granted. Yeah. I think on that fateful night on March 20th, 2020 or 23rd of 2020, I woke up that morning thinking that everything was going to be great. By 8 o'clock that night, I had my entire team on a call and we were having to completely pivot the business. We had over 10,000 bookings that were due to travel in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I knew that if we refunded everybody that needed refunding, my business would fold.
Yeah.
So ethically, morally, I was really conflicted during that time. And I think that period of time taught me, again, going back to people, that you need to surround yourself with the best people, because my team were incredible during that period of time. They pivoted into roles they've never had to do before. We had to create systems that weren't kind of set up to do what we were now needing to do, this mass kind of rescheduling, refunding, understanding credit notes, all that kind of stuff. We'd never even had to think about that stuff in the past. So that sense of celebrating, I think as a business owner that had been thankfully very, very successful year after year, what you don't do is you don't celebrate, because it's just another year and you need more and you need more people and you need more revenue and you need more profit and everything's got to be bigger and better. But you never ever stop and go, oh my God, in the last 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, whatever, we've achieved X, Y, and Z. And I think when you wake up on, or I wake up on that the next morning thinking, this is a real kind of do or die situation for me. And I could lose everything here. I could lose everything that I've worked for the last 10 years, and it's completely out of my hands. And that sense of, like I said, really not taking anything for granted, surrounding yourself with the best people who are loyal and will help you get out of whatever hole you need to get out of, are two of the biggest things. And then the other thing around people is, as a leader and as somebody who has massively got imposter syndrome, because I didn't go to fancy universities, I don't have a business background, I failed most exams I've ever taken. Actually, that sense of having to surround yourself and accept that it's a positive to have people in the business that are much better than you is a really, really hard one to get your head around. And I think probably as a working mum, we carry a huge amount of guilt anyway, and we're not always terribly good at understanding or knowing our own strengths. So actually, when it comes to having to fill your business with people who can do your job 20 times better than you and have a whole army of them, it's a really bizarre thought, particularly when you've set something up from scratch yourself. But actually, it's the best thing. It's the best bit of advice I can give people, is just embrace it and don't be scared of it. Don't see it as a threat, but just embrace it and understand that there are always going to be much better people out there than you, and they're going to do brilliant things for your business. So find your kind of role and let others do theirs. It's really, really important.
Really good advice, that. I mean, there's the concept that the team will be able to take the business further than you could ever do on your own.
So
But
true.
it's not easy to do, is it? It's not easy to let go. It's
Really hard. It's
yeah.
really hard.
So going back to that day, because that day, you sort of you hit a bit of a nerve in terms of, like, got my emotions going around that day that you woke up and everything was fine in the morning. Then 8 o'clock, you go, whoa,
Yeah.
That must have been really scary. So
Absolutely terrifying.
how do you deal with your emotions? And you seem really calm, collected, and sort of structured. How do you deal with your emotions at that point of sheer panic, I guess?
It was really hard. And I think I'm a single parent, so I was also homeschooling 3 children, while trying to manage the emotions of my team. At that point in time, I had a team of 120, and knowing that their livelihoods were relying on me essentially getting this right, as well as trying to homeschool my children and keep them in an equal and kind of balanced mind. Plus, I lost my father kind of through COVID as well. He died of Alzheimer's and dementia. So actually, the emotions that were going on during that period of time, the adrenaline that was pumping through my body for 2 years was insane. And I genuinely don't think, we talk a lot about mental health in the world, and clearly in my role, we talk a lot about mental health and well-being. I think I'm only really now unpacking some of that stuff, because I didn't have time at the time to even think about it. It was a case of having to get up every morning. We had we furloughed most people. We kept a skeleton team in. We had to keep the customers coming. I took on the role, I guess, from an industry point of view, as us being able to be the voice of, I guess, information. And if you imagine, we're kind of got Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, all on our website. They were all opening things at different times. Spas were opening, hotels were opening. They could do overnights. They couldn't do breakfast. We were having to communicate this across the platform for 4 different nations. And I guess at a time of crisis, and work for me has always been a sense of identity. It's given me a reason to keep going when things have been quite bleak personally. And therefore, I just thought, actually, you know what, I'm going to continue this mindset of, if we can be the central hub of all this information, actually, we are fulfilling a really, really valuable role to the community. My team are kept going. We made no redundancies through that period. So we kept everybody going. And we came out, we didn't stop tech at that point either. So we could have stopped all tech, but we didn't. We chose to push on with the tech, which meant that when we came back and everybody bounced back in the end of 21 into 22, 2022 was a record year for us, because we were able to kind of maximize and take all the opportunities that we'd been working on for the last 18 months and really fly. And then 22 was a record year, and 23 was a record year again. And Q1 of this year has been a record quarter. So I'd like to think that actually, although it was the horrific time, we all used it almost as a time to restock and really pre-prioritize and make sure that when all this kind of finished, we were ready to go. So yeah, a horrible, horrible time.
Well, credit where credit's due. Well done. You know, it's an amazing story, and 120 people, the world going all over the place, and then still at home, you're just to them, your kids, you're just a mumstead, aren't you? It's kind of balancing those two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
still
exactly.
just mum.
You mentioned about sort of like going through the hard times and then taking that as an opportunity to restock, and quite often that is the case, isn't it? Sometimes you need a bit of a crisis to actually make you stop doing some of the stuff that you're doing, to reevaluate where you're going and things like that.
Definitely. And like I said earlier, to celebrate, to actually sit back and think, oh my God, if I lose this, and there was two or three opportunities and chimes when I genuinely thought that was going to be the case, actually just take stock and go, well, you know what, we've achieved some amazing things over the years, and to celebrate those as a team was really important as well, just keep us all going, I think.
It's a good point. Business owners, we tend to look at the challenges, the things that aren't quite working, problem solving, and all that sort of stuff. And you're right. Everybody I work with, I always say, keep a win book, keep a record of those wins, even if they're small ones, because you don't take time sometimes to celebrate and recognize them. And it's a really healthy thing to do, is to go back over your successes. So if you had the opportunity to sort of wind the clock back, go back to that day in 2004 and sort of start again, would you do anything differently? And if you would do things differently, what sort of things would you do differently to what you've done?
I genuinely don't think I would do anything differently, actually. I'm incredibly proud of what we've built. I'm proud of the fact that my founding mission statement in 2006 is exactly the same as it is today. So it's written on a wall in our office in Brighton. We've recently worked with some external marketing consultants who have come in to look at our value proposition and really help me with the marketing kind of platform. And actually, even with all of their research and kind of digging down, they've still come to the conclusion that we've got the values are there, the beliefs are there. They're not just words written on a piece of paper. They are intrinsically running through every single person that works for Spa Breaks. And therefore, I genuinely don't think there's certainly things you would change around. We do gifting and we do online bookings, and that you could say that we could have just done gifting, or we could have just done that, but they're all a little bit superficial, if I'm honest. On the whole, I don't think I could be any prouder or would change anything that we do, because everything we do is from the heart. Everything we do is morally and ethically correct. And those have been my two biggest measures, really. If I can look myself in the mirror at the end of the night and know that I've done a good job at work and I'm still being a good mum at home, it's a job done. It's a tick in the box for me. So I don't set my expectation levels too high, because I think that's when you set yourself up to fail, particularly as a working mum. We can't have it all. We can't pretend that we can, but we can certainly have a lot, and we can do it really well.
So do you think some of the success is attributed to having that clear vision, that clear sort of statements that's living and breathing, that's not just words on the wall, or did that sort of come after the success? Did you get successful, then create it, or is the success as a part?
No, so it was literally, so for the 2 years where I was doing my PR instead of working in the hotels before I started Spa Breaks, I kind of traveled around the country looking at the spas and visiting them. And it very quickly dawned on me that there were a very large group of marginalized people that were not being welcomed into spas, whether that was anyone with a disability, whether that was anyone with color, whether that was anyone over a size 12, whether that was men, whether that was anyone that was going through cancer and therefore had a PICC line in, or didn't have any hair, or it was very clear that these spas were full of very beautiful women who had not a lot else to do on a Tuesday afternoon other than be in a spa, which is great. However, it didn't sit very well for me, and therefore those very, very, very early days back in 2007, I built the business based on the fact that we were going to open up the spa and wellness industry, and that's exactly what we've done. And we stand true to that today. And we send probably over 500 people to spas with cancer every week now, which is something which just makes me incredibly proud. So
yeah, very good. Very good. Again, it's one of those things that a lot of small business owners don't necessarily understand the value of having vision, culture, but really proper vision, proper culture.
but yeah, it
A little
can't
bit
just
our
be
heart.
words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They've got to be lived and breathed, I think.
Needs a decent amount of time really working on them to make sure that they're right and you get the right emotions off of the back of them and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's my role as a founder. You know, we talked earlier about how you have to define a role in your business as the business grows, and you find people that are a lot better at numbers and things than I am. And that's always been, you know, I've always been very honest about the fact that I've got no business experience. I really don't like maths. And therefore, actually, I've got an incredible female CFO now who, and a brilliant MD and a fantastic senior management team, and they run the business day to day. But I'm very clear that my role is around people now, and is around making sure that we stay true to the business that I started 16 years ago. And I can still lead and inspire and mentor. And I think we use the word empowerment a lot in my business. And I think it's absolutely true that the more people are empowered, the better employees they can be, and the better your business will be. And if I can empower people to be the best they can be by showing them that actually you can be a mum and come back to work and have the balance and juggle and do all the things, but stay true to who you are, ultimately it's got to be, that's where I see my kind of part to play, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So talk about the team for a second then. So you had 120. What size team have you got at the moment?
So I'm now 70. So post-COVID, we were able to make the transition. I talked about the fact we kept going with tech. So pre-COVID, 60% of everything we booked came through the call center. I used to have a call center of 66. I've now got a call center of 11, because 90% of everything that we sell on the website is booked online. So we were able to make that online kind of call center to online transition during COVID, and have come out of it absolutely kind of full steam ahead. So the team is now 70. They're based down in Brighton in a call center. We do a kind of a hybrid role for anybody that wants it. We've also got a lot of people that work remotely. So I've got a lady over in Valencia. We've got tech people over in Bangkok, Taiwan. We encourage flexible working, and certainly are very happy to accommodate anybody who can't necessarily be in the Brighton office.
Yeah, the world's a small place now, isn't it, with the Zooms and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
So when you're looking at team members,
yeah,
you look at the people around you, what sort of qualities are you looking at in those people, and then how do you foster that, you know, productive working environment, that high performance environment?
Yeah, so we are nurturers. So we take your raw talent and we nurture them. So when I moved the office from London down to Brighton, I had 11 of my team members come down with me. They relocated their lives from London to Brighton, and most of them are still with me. So I think that, you know, I've got people that have been with me 15, 16 years, and they remain a massively important part of the business. So I think we talk about beliefs, we talk about values, morals, ethics, and ultimately I've been able to, I guess, impart those on my team. I employ very positive people. We employ people who truly believe in what we're trying to do. We work really, really hard. I'm not going to lie. Our work rate is massively high, and our output is great, but actually we have a lot of fun. We really do practice what we preach around well-being. We have Wellness Wednesdays in the office. They have chair massages. We do yoga. We do team away days. The team are always going out and visiting spas. So we try to instill everything that we kind of portray to a customer within the internal team as well. And I have to say, I've got the most incredible team I could ever wish for. I'm very lucky.
Sounds good. Sounds like you're also a very busy person, lots going on in your life, lots of challenges, but relish those opportunities. How do you balance that personal time with the demands of, you know, being a business owner?
Yeah, it's not easy. I think probably my own personal health has been the thing that's been compromised over the years. So I've had 11 back operations. I've had a spine fusion. I busted my knee in January of this year and spent 9 weeks on crutches. So I'm not very good, if I'm really honest, and I talked earlier about how maybe working mums can't have everything. And for me, it's me that always goes first. And as in it goes down the list, not goes first. But so it's really, 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 really hard. And I talked about setting expectation levels really low. And for me, if I just get to walk my dogs every day for an hour and it's just me, then that's a good job done. Providing I'm here to put my children to bed at night and I've done homework with them. My nanny doesn't start, I have a nanny 4 days a week. She doesn't start till 9:30 in the morning. So I do all the school runs in the morning before I start my day. And she's here at the other end of the day to help me with homework, clubs, food, etc., etc. On a Friday, it's just me and the children. And therefore, I think you've just got to find a way that works for you. And it's understanding that that way isn't going to be everybody's way, but it's whatever you can personally take from the day that you are able to then go, yep, I'm happy with what I've done today. I'm happy with what I've achieved. I've been mum, I've been boss, I've done this. Obviously, I'm chair of the UK Spa Association, so I'm very passionate about the industry as a whole and the commercial sustainability of our industry as a whole and looking after people within it. So the therapist retention issue is a nightmare for us at the moment around keeping therapists within the roles. Right. So there's a whole kind of lots of things going on, but ultimately, if I can just take a couple of things out of each day, and know that I've done them for me and essentially my children and my wider friends and family, and I get to work with friends most of the time. I think that's the other thing, that if you surround yourself with people who truly get you, then they become friends and family anyway. So it is finding a balance, but it's got to be right for you. And it's, as women, we're not very good at standing up and going, actually, you know what? These are my decisions. I'm owning them and I'm quite happy with them. Thank you. And actually, that's really important, I think. There's a lot of judgment out there.
So there's a little bit of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, creating a bit of space in your time to be with the things that are, do the things that are important to you and stuff, but also recognize it's work-life integration these days rather than work-life balance, isn't it? It's kind of
you've got to. Yeah, my children have been
bit.
part of my journey. You know, they come onto calls with me, they come to the office. My son's recently done work experience with me. I'm not scared to expose them to what the company is. And actually, as a result, they're very, very proud of everything that I've been able to achieve, while they know that I'm bringing them up at the same time. And actually, if you try to keep those two things in very separate pots, I personally think they just become a threat. Whereas if you bring them together and you make them part of that journey, actually it's something I coach my working mums at work, don't be scared to bring those two worlds together, because once they're together, they're not as scary, and one doesn't feel threatened by the other, which I think is really important.
Very good advice. What dogs have you got?
What dogs? So I have a retriever called Bo, and I have a Rottweiler cross working Cocker Spaniel cross poodle.
Okay.
Long story. Called Gus. So yes, I have 3 cats, 2 dogs, and a bearded dragon.
Just a few more things to throw into the mix.
A few more.
Listen, it's an amazing growth story. So credit again where credit's due. A fantastic achievement in everything you've done, plus the challenges of COVID and everything else as well that's going on. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you see the sort of business going? And have you got any words of advice for people looking to grow?
Yeah, so I think from a personal growth point of view in a business, it's very clear. We've got a very, very clear 3-year business plan that probably could become 5, but essentially we don't do anything overseas currently. So at some point there's overseas growth there to be had. There's an awful lot of work around connectivity. Obviously, we talk a lot in the world generally about connectivity and everything being online. There's a lot more work to be done in that space. Certainly, I think from a wellness industry point of view, corporate wellness is going to be massively important moving forward. I think we as an employer have to take responsibility for the well-being of our employees a lot more, and I think those boozy nights out are going to become a lot less, and I'd like to think that we will swap those for much more kind of well-being activities. So that's certainly from a business point of view. We've got lots to do, which is super exciting. And anyone kind of looking to grow, I think it's just don't stop believing. Just always, the imposter syndrome thing is so relevant, and particularly I guess in women of a certain age, and I'm certainly kind of that late 40s where the menopause hits and actually identity becomes a massive issue. And actually in the workplace, I'm really seeing it with my own team at the moment around the fact that something just changes in you and you suddenly lose sense of identity and purpose and your own worth. And I think from a business point of view and a growth point of view, a business can only grow when the people inside it are growing with it. And essentially for me, we've talked a lot about how I feel it's my responsibility to help those people grow and to identify and really notice when people aren't. And I think from a growth point of view, businesses will grow if the model is right, that the market is there, they will grow, but it will only grow if the people are growing alongside it. And that's kind of my biggest bit of advice, I think.
Here. Great advice. Great advice. So thank you. That's been, I could talk to you hours about your business because it's really interesting and fascinating. Where can our listeners go if they want to find out a bit more about what it is, you know, what you do and how to reach out and get in touch?
Yeah, of course. So please, the website is sparbreaks.com. We have over 540 spas in the UK and Ireland to choose from. Experiences from £20, so it's really very affordable, and is a really good kind of equivalent. We also sell gift vouchers, so if you're looking to gift well-being and time to escape, it's a really good thing to have. So please come onto the site and we'd love to hear from you.
Brilliant. Abi, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.